Hi, Camille. So your question is find f prime of c given the following information. Our function is f of x equals sine of x over x, and our value of c is pi over 4. So first of all, we should consult which rule we're going to use for this. We could calculate it by the definition of the derivative, of course, the limit definition, but that's a bit tedious, especially if you don't know how to calculate sine of x through that sort of like chain of logic. So instead, we can use the quotient rule, which is, of course, a law of math. And it says that if we have a function composed of two subfunctions, f of x equals g of x over h of x, then the derivative of that function, f prime of x, is going to be equal to g prime of x times h of x minus g of x times h prime of x, all divided by h of x squared. Here, g of x is going to be sine of x, and h of x is going to be simply x. So first of all, we can set this up. We can take the derivative of each piece. The derivative of sine of x is cosine of x, and the derivative of x is simply 1. So this becomes cosine of x times x minus sine of x, all divided by x squared, right? That's the h of x squared. Now we want to plug in for c. So we've calculated our general derivative function, and now we want to calculate the instantaneous slope at this point, pi over 4. So we plug this into f prime of x. We get cosine of pi over 4 times pi over 4 minus sine of pi over 4, all divided by pi over 4 squared. And now if you convert from radians to degrees, you would get that pi over 4 is about 45 degrees. And that's helpful because we know on the unit circle that at 45 degrees, cosine of x, or cosine of pi over 4 essentially, and sine of pi over 4 are exactly square root of 2 over 2. So we can substitute those in. We will get square root 2 divided by 2 times pi over 4 minus square root 2 over 2, all divided by pi over 4 squared. Now, this whole thing, we have a fraction over a fraction, basically. So we want to write it as this little division symbol here. And that's because it will allow us to do keep, change, flip, which is a familiar rule from algebra, to convert this from division to multiplication. We can also simplify this a little bit. So we can distribute the 2 in to get pi squared over 4 squared, which is 16. So we can write this as pi squared over 16. And now we can flip this to get square root 2 over 2 times, why don't we do this multiplication here? This would be square root 2, or pi square root 2 rather. And 2 times 4 is simply 8, so it's going to be over 8, minus square root 2 over 2. We can also combine this into one fraction. If we multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by 4, we will see we'll get an 8 in the denominator here. So that will give us 4 over 8. So we're able to combine these two things. We'll do that in the next step. And this is going to be times 16 over pi squared, just by following our keep, change, flip methodology. We keep the first fraction the same, or the first series of fractions, I guess. We change our division to multiplication, and we flip the pi squared over 16 into 16 over pi squared. Okay, so now we can combine things. First of all, this 16, we want to cancel with the 8s. So this is a little bit hard to visualize right now. Let's just rewrite it. Let's write it as, let's bring this out front. So 16 over pi, I'm forgetting my pi squared. These are squared, remember. And this is going to be multiplied by pi square root 2 minus 4 square root 2, all divided by 8. When we distribute this in, 16 will divide by 8 to give us 2. So this all simplifies down to 2 pi square root 2 minus 8 square root 2, all divided by just pi squared. Okay, so we can check this with a derivative calculator if we want online. This may also be a little bit more simplifiable, but this looks pretty good right now, and we can calculate this value, of course. So that is the instantaneous slope at pi over 4. Hopefully I haven't made a small mistake. I've already recorded this once because I made a mistake before. just by, actually my mistake, I didn't do the math wrong, but my mistake was I had the mode as degrees. So when I went and checked my answer, I got the incorrect answer, but it should have been in radians, in which case I would have gotten this value. So I hope that this is correct. I think it should be. Square root of pi minus 8 square root 2. Yeah, looks correct. So if it's not, I'll just address it in my comments and explain where the mistake was. But other than that, thank you for watching. And if you have any further questions, please head over to my profile and shoot me a message. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.